What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of the Skate Addict TV podcast. We ride, we vibe, and now we listen. Listen, this is going to be a really nerd-like episode today. So if you're looking for some drama, if you're looking for some interviews, if you're looking for some tea, we ain't got that today. This is a full-blown nerd episode, and it's probably an episode that most people may not even want me to talk about, but it's on how to start a skate page. Yes, how to start a skate page. I know some of y'all are like, oh shit, why is he gonna do this? There's enough people out there already recording. But I think there's some knowledge that can be given out to some of the videographers that are already out there and some that are beginning on how to start a skate page to help them save money, produce good quality, and possibly highlight the skate community in the best form of fashion that they possibly can. And I'm going to be the one that's going to drop some nuggets for y'all today. So it's just me and you on this episode today, really breaking down some of the concepts, some equipment that you may need, a couple do's and don'ts, a couple pro tips that we can actually go back and forth with. But we're going to get to that right after this commercial break. I'll see y'all in a minute though. Aha! What's good, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Josh from Skate Addict TV. If you have any kind of brand, business, or event that's coming up and you want to promote it on Skate Addict TV podcast, make sure you email skateaddicttv@gmail.com so we can get you on the show. But until then, make sure you go follow Skate Addict TV on Instagram where we ride, we vibe, and we party. Aha! Yo, welcome back, ladies and gents. So how to start a skate page. So a couple of things before we get started. We're going to be talking about some of the pros and cons, how to become a skate videographer, some of the equipment. So if you're looking on YouTube, you might see me going back and forth, picking up things here and there because they're right next to me here. But bear with me as we talk about some of the equipment once we get to the equipment part of the podcast, okay? So I'm going to be dropping a couple nuggets here. I don't want to overwhelm you with the episode. If you guys have more questions, you can always DM me or hit me at skateaddicttv@gmail.com, and we can just sit here and have a conversation about it to make sure that you feel well equipped when you're on the floor and when you're on social media, trying to build your brand, trying to build your page. But, you know, the first question you might want to ask is, why the heck do you even want to be a skate videographer? And I'm looking at my notes and stuff here, so bear with me also. But, you know, being a skate videographer is pretty cool. Not only do you get a chance to travel to many different cities and see so many different skaters, but it's awesome because depending on how you look at skate videography, you are building memories with people. I can look at so many different skaters' pages and see nothing but my videos on them. And you can see the progression from when they started with a specific style or when they started skating just in general to see where they're at now. And to see that progression and also see those memories that you create with these skaters is something that's really dear to me. Everybody has something a little bit different, but it's pretty cool to gain experience and have relationships with these different skaters through video and really see their progression through their skate journey. Some people actually go travel the world. You have people such as Malik, who's been all over the world. People such as Randy from We Skate Clips, who's been all over the world. So especially in Barcelona, I think was like the last big skate party that was over there. So you get a chance to see the world and see all these different skaters that we are connected to in relationship through skating, which is truly awesome. And you really, then not even to go, around the world, you get a chance to go across the country. We have skate parties in California and Memphis, Atlanta, New York, New Jersey. So we have skate parties all over the world, and it gives you ability to travel and have a connection with people instantly through your love of skating. So that's another reason why videography is so cool and so awesome to do within the skate community. It gives you a chance to become an influencer. I know that's why a lot of people end up getting on social media, and why we had this big influx of skate media that has popped up over the last year or so, was because it does give you an opportunity to become popular and become a social media influencer, which I think is a goal of a lot of people nowadays. Because if you can make money through your everyday life or through your talents through social media, I'm 100% go for it, So I think that a lot of people have joined the social media trend and skate videography to get into that social media realm, to become that influencer, because people are starting to monetize off of skate videography. And the last thing is just you get a chance to meet a lot of different people from all over the globe, once again, connecting through skating. But what people don't really talk about are the cons of videography, of skate videography. Now, when I'm talking about the cons, I'm talking more about when you are going just beyond your phone, right? And we start getting into the equipment. The equipment can get very costly, and I know that's why some people actually use their phones, is because the equipment is very expensive. Another thing is that when you are a videographer, one thing that I've already decided on is that during a session or during a skate party, more than likely I am not going to skate. That's just me. My rig costs way too much money for me to leave it anywhere with anybody. So more than likely, if you ever see me at a skate party, even at the long ones, my camera is in my hand to the moment I get there, to the moment that I leave. So I really don't even get a chance to skate as much as I would like to. Although y'all be telling me, Josh, go put your camera down, go skate. Nah, I'm good. This is like, about $4,000 that I'm holding in my hand. I don't really want my shit to get missing because I don't want to blow up no ring, because I know we all like to skate here and I don't want to cause no hell, right? And then the other thing is that, you got post-production, such as all the editing. So when we get ready to leave the rink and y'all asking for these videos without no watermark, without no edits, that stuff gets really time consuming and really tedious. So post-production and time consumption is a definite con of just being a videographer just in general with the skate page. Because you want to put out the edits, you want to do all the slow-mos, you want to add the ins and outs and all that stuff like that. So that stuff takes time, especially if you have other things going on, such as a job, or you have a family, or you just want to hang out with your friends, whatever the case is, or you have another skate night or a skate event. So these things can get really time consuming. It really kind of becomes your life, especially when you add that social media component to it, because you have to actually create content. So there's a lot of tools out there now that can help out with content, but I always suggest before you start doing any kind of automation that you learn how to do it so you can understand what the automation is doing, so you can be more equipped to say, okay, this don't look right, this is right, versus not knowing how to do anything. Something's automated for you, you overpaying for it, or it's doing something completely wrong, but you never knew what to do in the first place because you just never learned how to do it, right? If that makes sense. So we're going to start tapping into right now. I'm just getting my notes, y'all, just on how to become a skate videographer. Number one, why do you do it? Right? Like, number one is, why do you do it? Do you do it because you do it for clout? I know that's usually like the big thing. That's probably the first thing some of y'all probably said, right? Do you do it because you're just trying to become a social media influencer? That's not necessarily clout. That's a way to, social media influencing is a way to pay bills through skill set, especially with the newer generation that's out. That is a possible form of revenue. Number three, are you doing it for the community? Are you trying to build up your community? Are you trying to build up your particular city and state? Are you looking at the whole community as a whole, as in the whole entire skate community? Like, what exactly are your reasons? And I would say, before you start any kind of skate page, understand what your reason is and what your why is. And the reason why I say this is because once you start on social media, it's going to deter you quite a bit, because you're going to sit here and you're going to do these videos, and these videos going to be fire, right? They're going to be dope. They in 4K, you know what I'm saying? You got the little slow-mos going, man. You got this, the sexy backpack video, and you just think this thing, you going to post it, and that thing going to get 3 likes. And you're going to be like, all right, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to stay consistent. And you're going to put out another fire video, and it's going to be trains and trios, and it's going to be that trending sound that you was told to put on there, and you post it, and then it get like 2 likes. And then you're going to put somebody's was really, really fine woman on there. She ain't got no clothes on, but you got that trending audio. Her colors are popping. She got a little skin showing. And then it's going to get like maybe 10 likes. Then you're going to get that dude out there that's dipping or that's slow walking, and you got this real trending audio, and you finally get like 20 likes. And what's going to happen is that if you're not getting, I call them dopamine hits, and it's called a positive feedback loop. And what a positive feedback loop is simply when we like something or engage in something, when somebody likes it or somebody comments on it or somebody shares it, our brains get this dopamine hit. And dopamine is I'm about to use my pharmacy language a little bit. It's a feel-good hormone. So what tends to happen when we have those dopamine hits, it kind of pushes us to keep going, keep pushing, keep going further, keep doing more things to continue to chase that hit, right? But when you don't get those likes or you don't get those comments and you don't get those shares, you don't get those dopamine hits, so which is going to deter you from continuing to doing your page. And sometimes all it took was one more page or one more comment or one more post to get you where you need to get to, but you might quit before you get started, before you get to that point. So that's why it's truly important to understand why you are doing this. Because if you're doing it for the community and you're doing it for the love, and this is just my personal opinion, if you're doing it for the love and you're doing it for the community, it don't really matter about the likes. It don't matter about the shares. It don't matter about the comments. As long as you focus on the art and you focus on the craft of videography itself, all that stuff is going to come. I promise you. Skate Life, role models, myself, skating is essential. We skate clips, Chase skaters, everybody, Smiley the shooter. We all did not start with 100 likes, 200 likes, 300 likes. We started off 1 like here, 2 like here. Shit, I'm at about 47,000 followers here. And if I'm not consistent, even if I am consistent, even if that algorithm changes, I'm still getting like 5 views or like 100 views or 20 likes. So, but to me, it doesn't matter because like I do it for y'all. I do it for the community. The social media stuff for me is secondary, but why I do it is primary. And I'm harping on this because you really need to understand why you do it, because we all know this in regards to skating in any other community. You have the bullshit that comes with it. And then you also have you feel like your page is not successful because it's not doing the numbers on Instagram. So truly understand why you are doing what you are doing. So that's part one. The second step to how to start a skate page: start in your city. Start in your city. Believe it or not, your city needs you. We have styles that are all over the place. We have skating that's all over the place. This skate culture is all over the place. And even with all the videographers that are out now, because a lot of us are in the same state or in the same city for the most part sometimes. But start in your city because your city needs you to promote your city and your state within the culture, if that makes sense. So it is super important because some of the styles, some of the music, some of the people, DJs, just the overall culture of your city is not being seen because nobody is recording it. I want to say that's how it was for Orlando, or at least for Florida before I got started. I'm not saying I'm the pioneer for Florida. I'm not saying that at all, but I might be, because I didn't know of any other videographer that was in the state of Florida before I got started. And what I did and how I got started was literally just promoting for Orlando and promoting for the Central Florida area. So that's like Tampa also. And it was really just giving videos out, highlighting the scene that I was in, and really worked there. This is before I went to any kind of skate party, before I went to Atlanta and St. Louis and all these other places. So I started at home. So how my page began to grow was literally me being at home. Now I do have the luck of having several skate parties here in Florida, and shout out to all the skate parties that occur here. So I do have the luxury of having these skate parties where people actually come down to our state and to our city to actually see all these different skaters and these different styles. But I started at home before I went anywhere else. So believe it or not, your city and your state needs you. in regards to promoting them in our skate culture on social media platforms. And the beauty about skate and videography is that everybody's eye is different. You know what I'm saying? How I record is going to be completely different from how you record, or how somebody else from Chicago records, or how somebody from Cali records. We all have different eyes and different creativities, and that's the beauty. That's how you see how we're different. So if you do have somebody that's already in your city, what I would suggest is, if they're open to it, go talk to them, pick their brain, and see how together in a very team-like effort, how you can promote for the city. And that will help prevent, stepping on anybody's toes. There's always some type of collaboration that's happening within the city. And so, it's always better to have somebody. Two heads are always better than one. So if you have the ability to collaborate with anybody that's in your city or state that's doing videography already for skating, collab with them and help promote them so they can help promote you and have that synergistic kind of ability, right? So definitely double check on definitely start within your city, start within your own community, and really highlight and show what makes your community or what makes your state special in regards to the skate community. And I promise it'll catch on. Number 3, I would say, once you get a name, decide on the name. And the reason why I'm saying decide on the name, because deciding on a name is going to build your brand. Now, personally for me, I chose Skate Addict TV is because I didn't want to be stuck in a particular box per skating. I wanted this to be for JB. I wanted this to be for artistic skating. I wanted this to be for roller skating or park skating. I wanted it to be for everything. So I didn't want to put myself in a box by naming it something specific. For those who have, hey, that's on y'all. That's what y'all do for your culture. That was y'all processing your concept. That's perfectly fine. Do you? That just wasn't the thing for me. So for me, I would say, as of right now, and this was before we had a big influx of skate videographers. But what I would say do is pick a name that is scalable, right? Pick a name that encompasses a little bit of everything that you can build a brand around. And you can build a brand around any name, but you won't be able to lock yourself in a specific kind of box, right? So Skate Addict TV can be ice skating. Skate Addict TV can be skateboarding. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, make sure you choose a name right now, because of the atmosphere has changed, that you're able to brand and scale your business across multiple different platforms and many different styles of skating. I would say, once you decide on a name, this is going to be, now, listen to me when I say this. Before you do this, make sure that you're serious about it. Okay? If you're just doing this for a hobby and you're just doing this for a love, and I'm saying this coming from both perspectives, because Skate Addict TV for me was a hobby. Like, I didn't want to turn this into a business. I didn't want to have the hassle of, operating as a business. I didn't want to do all that. So make sure before this next step that you're either serious about it and you want to go turn it into a business to get the benefits of a business, or you're just doing this as a hobby where you just want to leave it as a creative space and you just want to kind of find a way to protect your stuff. Call it a day. Now, I am no tax professional. Okay, so any kind of information that I'm about to provide, and it's going to be a very small tidbit of information, but don't say that Josh from Skate Addict TV told me to do this, because you can do that, XYZ, so on and so forth. All I'm saying is going to give you some very basic information on why it's important to possibly turn your skate page into a business. So after you decide on a skate name or a skate page name, if you are serious in doing this and you want the benefits, I would say go get an LLC or sole proprietorship. To me, I prefer LLC, and get an EIN number. And so you'll be getting a business name. So a LLC will provide any kind of protection for you for the most part. And this is very general, guys, very general. It will provide any kind of protection for you, but also an EIN is like a new social security number for your business. Why is this important? So when you go get a logo, when you go buy a camera, when you go buy any kind of subscription to any kind of motion array, what is artistic, I think is another one for like audio. When you go to these different skate rinks, when you buy these hotels, when you pay for these tickets at these different events, these things can possibly be tax deductible now because you have a business. You follow me? So once again, it's a couple more tidbits to it, but I feel like if you're going to be spending on this money and traveling and doing all this stuff, you might as well make it tax deductible. And you can do anything in the name of business in this country. So you might as well make your thing, make your company in your name of business. So now anything that you do under your skate name, any kind of computer that you buy under your skate name or under your EIN, any kind of merch that you buy is now tax deductible. So now you're actually in the business mode. Now you're saving money on doing things or getting money back possibly on things that you already love to do, which is skating and videography. Because a computer, especially if you're running if you're want to get like me, I just love Mac. You're talking about a $2,000, $3,000 computer. If you're talking about a camera that shoots in 4K, you're talking maybe $1,500 to $2,000, depending on what you're trying to get. You got gimbals and lenses and all this other stuff. So you might as well have a way to write it off. So if you're serious about it, look into getting an LLC or sole proprietorship. I would say talk to a tax professional to see which works best for you, but definitely get an EIN number and make it into a business. So now all the things that you enjoy doing is now tax deductible. Now, an EIN number, not an EIN, but having an LLC does not save your company in regards to being taken. If you're serious about it, you may want to look also into getting the name trademarked, whatever your name is. So once your page does begin to boom and really does shake, nobody can take this away from you. Trademarks, like, you can't take Coca-Cola's name, you can't take Nike's name, and so many different things. There's a lot that I have learned on this journey. But definitely, if you're serious about it, if you want to turn into a business, definitely make sure that this is what you're in here for, because, it takes money to make money, but it also takes money to kind of protect yourself. So that's a little bit, a little bit later if you're serious about it, but that's just a tidbit I want to throw in there for you. Capiche? All right, cool. On to the next thing. So now create a logo. What I suggest for logos, if you got Canva is fire. Canva is, I wish I would have known Canva a long time ago and know how to use it more properly, but Canva is great in regards to building a logo. But if you're not artistic, that's not where my mind lies. If you're artistic, or you're not artistic, go to Fiverr. I believe it's Fiverr. I'll put it down in the link below. But go to Fiverr and you can have somebody build a logo for you. They're free. There's a freelancing website that you go to. I mean, it used to call Fiverr because things start off at $5, but inflation don't know ho. It's here in the States. So therefore, their prices have gone up, but you can still get a logo for like, $10, $12, $15, whatever the case is, get a logo. Or I know that if you know Malik from Life of Malik or JB Skate Chicago, he is a graphic designer. So you might want to highlight him at a logo if you want to stay in the skate community and you want to support the skate community. That's a shameless plug for you, Malik. You're welcome. But definitely get a logo. Why is the logo important? It's because you need to have brand recognition. When I see this name, I know I'm getting this particular product. I'm getting this specific quality, something to put on a shirt. So when you go to these events and you go to these skate parties, somebody can easily identify who you are. Something you can put the watermarks and stuff on your photos or on your videos, however you do to protect your art. So logos are super duper important. So I would say that after you create and understand why you're doing this and starting at home and building your LLC, if you don't do that, even if you don't do the LLC in the EIN, you still need to get a logo. And believe me, when it's time to trademark, you're going to have to get the trademark and the name. You're going to have to get the logo and the name trademark. Those are two different marks. So, which definitely increased the price, but we're not going to jump into that. That's a whole nother animal. Okay. So, the next part was that after you get the logo, get some t-shirts made, You can make them yourself. I actually make my shirts at home. I have a heat press. Amazon is a beast. For some of the deeper details of what I actually use, I don't think I'm going to tell y'all that just yet. I mean, I don't know if I'm ready to plug y'all into that just yet, but definitely you can buy your own heat press off of Amazon. It's clutch. You have a couple different sites that do like logos and transfers and things along that nature. So get your own shirts, or you can just pay somebody to do it, whatever floats your boat. But definitely get some shirts. That's a way to one way to monetize. We'll get into that a little bit later. But it's also a way to recognize who you are. And this is really specific for guys. Okay. And no, we're gonna play devil's, not gonna say, I guess it's not devil's advocate. It's just this is a real ass thing, right? The thing is, if you're a videographer and you are a guy, okay, what we have to understand as a guy is that the key thing about videography is, especially when skating, is that imagine somebody random just rolling up to you with a camera in their face. Don't be that guy, right? Don't be a weirdo. Don't be that guy until your brand is recognized enough or your face is recognized enough, because a lot of people have faceless pages and they just post content without posting themselves. I learned that lesson myself. Not saying I was a weirdo or nothing like that, but I knew that I had to post my face on my page a whole lot more. So when people saw me, they knew what I was here for, right? So, and this is more specific for guys, because for guys, if a woman comes to put a camera in front of your face, man, you're going to start slow walking. You're going to throw that little jig, especially if you're cute. And you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not going to bother you, but sometimes it does not work the reverse. It can make women very uncomfortable, especially not knowing who you are, and you just got a cell phone in your hand. It can come off kind of creep, right? So the best thing to do is have a shirt or some type of merch on that has your logo. And ladies, this is including you also, because this also helps with your brand recognition. But this is more specifically for guys, because there's so many people that are out there now with cameras. People have to easily identify who you are. And why is that important? One thing is because you don't want to look like a weirdo. Two, you want followers. You want these people to find you on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or YouTube. You want these people to find you so they can follow you and subscribe to you, right? I've had so many people DM me because they saw a light in front of their face and like, hey, Josh, did you record me? No, I didn't. I don't think I did. Did you check the link? But it was somebody else who was there who didn't have a shirt on. They just had a camera and a light on, and they thought that's all that they needed. But no, the logo, the merch gives you brand recognition. People have to easily identify who you are so they can support you, right? So that is another reason why you need some type of merch on when you actually go to these events and you go to these skate parties. The other part, so we kind of got this, so we know why we do it. We started off in our city. You know, we know we serious about it. So we got an LLC and an EIN number. We got a name. We created a logo. We got a T-shirt. Now, Josh, like, what kind of equipment do I need? And now, before we dig into the equipment, we have to understand. You know what? Before we even get to that, as you're starting a skate page. Now, with the big, huge influx that we have of skate videographers, and I'm going to keep it a buck, right? Let's keep it a buck. We all doing the same shit, right? We all doing the same exact shit. We posting videos of skaters, and that's it. Some of us are doing some things different in regards to like tutorials. Some people are doing how-to, especially if they have the skating aspect of the videographer. We have some really dope skaters who are actually videographers, but we're all doing the same shit. Essentially, we're all posting the same exact thing. Like the only thing that really makes us different is quality, angles, and what exactly we're posting. You know, some of us are posting a little bit of everything. Some of are posting, everything sexual. Some things are posting slow walking or a specific style. It just really depends. So What I would say is that if you're going to start a skate page, you need to start thinking outside of the box now. You know, it's cool to do the videos, to have that into your repertoire, but in order to grow on the platforms, you need to start thinking outside of the box now. What exactly, what do the skaters in your particular community, what do they want? And start whatever they want, begin to feed that to them so you can, in order for you to grow. Don't just go out there and just do whatever the hell you want to do. That's not smart. You know what I'm saying? You can't build a business with a product that nobody wants, right? That's just business 101, supply and demand. So make sure that when you get started that you have some type of outside of the box concept. And I've seen some really dope outside of the box concept, especially the mic'd up that people are doing now. That's fire. And I wish I would have thought about that when that happened. I might still do it, but no, that's just a fire concept. And shout out to everybody that's actually doing that. People who actually thought about that. It's very creative, but that's something that's completely outside of the box. Doing like skate confessions, or like I know what Skateflix is doing. Shout out to Skateflix and Charles, to his whole team that's over there. So start thinking outside of the box of what is your skate page going to bring to the table that everybody else is not going to bring. And this is for a couple reasons. Number one, if you want to grow on Instagram, you have to make sure that you're creating something new and fresh. Point blank, period. Build something that you can be consistent with, because that's the whole thing about the algorithm, and that's the whole thing about social media just in general, is just the consistency. So you can post the same exact videos over and over and over and over again, but eventually the algorithm is going to change and that shit's going to get old and it's not going to make any more movements. But also, just as a creator, you will eventually get bored with doing it. Let's just be real. You're going to get bored of doing the same exact edits over and over and over again. Even if it is doing well, of course it's not broke, don't fix it. But we, as a creator, if you're really into this, you're going to get bored and you're going to want to challenge yourself. So I'm going to throw that out there. The other reason why, I just had a brain fart, y'all. That you want to be able to have something different is because the skate world is forever changing. You know, you have to think outside the box because it's always changing, and you have to keep up with the trends. You have to keep up what people are wanting, what people are listening to, what people are actually doing, so you can actually stay in the number for things. And there was something else, but my brain farted. And like I said, we keep it real raw in here, and I don't remember what it was supposed to be. But we're going to actually cut to a commercial break right quick, because the next segment of the podcast is talking about equipment. And the equipment can get a little extensive, and I got a couple things here that I want to show, and just to kind of give you an idea. So we're going to cut to a commercial break right quick. I'll see y'all in a minute, though. What's good, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Josh from Skate Addict TV. If you have any kind of brand, business, or event that's coming up and you want to promote it on Skate Addict TV podcast, make sure you email skateaddicttv@gmail.com so we can get you on the show. But until then, make sure you go follow Skate Addict TV on Instagram, where we ride, we vibe, and we party. Aha! Welcome back, ladies and gents. So the equipment portion of the podcast. So once again, if you're just not tuning in, this is a very nerd-like episode. If you are listening to the podcast, I would suggest that you go to the YouTube and actually check us out there, because we actually have some of the equipment that we're actually talking about right in front of you. So you can actually have a go look at it to see what exactly we're talking about, so you can be more equipped or have an idea of what you're going to go buy, what some things may look like. So before we get into equipment, the first thing I want to discuss about equipment, before you go buy anything, you have to determine what platform that you are trying to engage on. Most people are on the most common platforms, either TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Those are usually the big ones that everybody's using, because they can whip out their phones, do something, and then call it a day. The ones that are trying to tap into YouTube, That's a whole nother ball game depending on what you're trying to do. Yes, they have like reels and things like that, but a lot of their videos is horizontal or landscape, what we call it. But most people are trying to use the social media platforms, once again, which are just IG, TikTok, and usually Facebook, in order to build their pages. So before you even buy equipment, determine which platform you want to be on. And it's really between social media and YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you're going to need a whole nother set of rules. If you're on IG, Instagram, which is Instagram. If you're on TikTok, IG, or Facebook, that's a whole nother set of rules in regards to what you're going to be doing for quality, what kind of equipment that you're going to need to get the best results. So choose which format that you're trying to go in, so you can either save yourself a lot of money or you can save yourself a lot of time in regards to your learning curve of learning how to do these things. Now, the first thing that we got here, once again, I'm reaching. So the main question that people ask me is, Josh, which camera should I get? Or should I just use my phone? Right? And my answer to that is, do you even know the basic fundamentals of videography or the basic fundamentals of photography? So if I said aperture, do you know what that is? If I said anything about shutter speed, do you know what that is? If I said anything about ISO, do you know what that is? Or if I said what's your white balance? So if you don't know what any of those concepts are, I'm gonna tell you now, don't get this. Don't get this. Stick to your phone. Now, the beauty about a phone, especially with the iPhone, I want to say the iPhone that I just showed you is like an iPhone 12 Pro Max. The lens and the camera, well, I'm not saying the lens, the camera that is on there, the quality. When I say quality, we're talking about like 4K, all the frame rates. You got 60 frames, 120 frames. We're not gonna really dig too deep into that, but I guess we can. 4K 1080p is resolution. So in basic terminology, it's how clear it looks. Frames is how smooth it looks, right? So the more frames that you have, the more smooth it looks, especially when you're trying to slow things down, right? But, quality 4K 1080p, 1080p is what the social media platforms pick up. That's it. So you can shoot in 4K all you want. It's not going to show up in 4K on IG, TikTok, or Facebook. It only shows up in 4K on YouTube. So that's why determining which platform you're going to use is highly important to what equipment that you will use. Okay. So back to the phone. In regards to the phone, the phones are cool because they're easy. As long as you have battery and as long as you have storage, you can whip it out and you can do your thing, right? The phone cameras have really good resolution. They go up to like 4K, I think 8K for some phones. And they go up to like 60 to 120 frames. So put it this way. Do you know those really dope videos that this guy named Skate Addict TV be putting out? Like, my phone is actually, when they're talking about resolution and frame rates, is actually better than the camera that I spent $1,500 on. Let me let that sink in right quick. So if you have the newest iPhone, quality-wise, frame rate-wise, is probably better than your average, I want to say $900 to $1,500 camera. So the camera that you need is in your hand already, or in your pocket, or in your purse, or ladies, if y'all, it's in your bra strap, whatever. Yeah, y'all nasty. But nah, you already have the tools, the main tool, or the most expensive tool that you're going to need. Now, understanding the concepts of what you're trying to do is more important, because you can go buy this, $1,500 camera and still take trash videos. Let's call it what it is. So what this is trying to save you from that. Use your phone to really understand the concepts of videography. And if you understand the concepts of videography, then you will begin to understand on why you need a camera, or why you need more different equipment that you can either attach to your phone or when you get your camera. So what kind of lens you would need, blah, 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 right? So use your phone first. Another pro tip that I would give though is that there are the camera that comes with the phone. So, and I'm saying mostly iPhone because that's what I use. Android has gotten a lot better. But we're talking specifically iPhone right now because that's just my perspective and my experience. With iPhone, the camera app that comes pre-built does not use all of the requirements, or it does not use all the power of the camera. It doesn't give you full control. There are some third-party apps out there. I believe one is called ProCam. It's like $12.99. I paid for it because I wanted to test it out. That's one that I use. But the camera on the phones that's already pre-done, it does a lot of the work for you. When it comes to lighting, you can always zoom in and out, of course. But when it comes to a lot of the things that are the technical parts of a camera, the phone already does for you. So that's a pro and a con. So if you don't really know what you're doing, it's great for that. But if you know what you're doing, then it's like, I kind of want these things to do this, do that, and I can't really get it. So that's really one of the major differences from a camera here and a phone, is that the camera allows you to have a way more control over what your subject and your visuals are going to look like. The camera kind of gives you what it has, and it does a lot of that back work for you. But it's not to say that you can't get any good quality videos. There's a lot of people who use their phones and they produce great quality. You got Skate Clips, who uses her phone. Role Models, he uses his phone. Skating is Essential, when he was doing videography or posting videos, he was doing a lot of things from his phone. So don't knock the phones. The phones work really well, but it's all about knowing the concepts and knowing the angles and, knowing what kind of lighting to get, so on and so forth. So, the camera, once again, the camera allows you to have more control over what you are seeing and what you're trying to shoot. But it does take a little bit more technical background in order to operate the camera, because there's a lot of buttons, there's a lot of knobs, there's a lot of different things. Like the camera that I use, my 90D that I use, that's my go-to. There's still a lot of things that I be trying to shift back and forth from sometimes, and I still probably haven't used all the features on the camera. But I would say do not go out and rush to go buy a camera if you don't even know the concepts of using the phone. Because the only thing you're going to do is get this camera, you're going to spend all this money, it's going to look the same exact way as your phone, and you're going to get pissed off, not use it, and then you're going to end up stopping. Use your phone, understand the concepts, then go get a camera. You with me? Capiche? All right. So you got a phone, you're doing this thing, you like it. But Josh, what kind of camera should I get? Good question. Tough question, but yet a good question. So I would usually recommend, I'm going to recommend 3 cameras. Okay. I recommend a Sony. I recommend a Canon, and I recommend a Panasonic. Okay. The reason why I threw Panasonic in there is the same reason why I'm throwing Sony. And the reason why I'm throwing, because I don't use neither, I use Canon. But the reason why I say those two is because you have to understand the dynamics of the rink, right? When you're talking about cameras, you have different components. See, like I mentioned, the ISO, the aperture, the shutter speed, blah, 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 blah. We're not going to dig that deep into it because this is going to be a very long podcast if we dig deep into that. But you really have to understand the mechanics of the camera, and you also got to know the environment that you're in. And the reason why I am saying Panasonic and I'm also saying Sony is because they do very, very well. I'm almost sure it's Panasonic. I know definitely Sony. But they do really, really well in low light. Now, if you've been skating any time in your life, we have a slow set, or if you've been to any rink, sometimes those rinks can be very dark. And there's always been this big, huge thing about the lights and all that stuff like that. And believe me, I get it. Them hoes bright. I get it. And if you're not using them properly, I can understand how frustrating that can possibly be, having this big ass spotlight in front of your face. So you definitely want to have a camera that is versatile enough, that works well in low light. Canon does all right in low light, but and a Panasonic and a Sony does extremely well in low light. Extremely well. Canon does really well with colors. But when you're talking about Sony and Panasonic, they do really well in low light. And if you're in any kind of rink, those are usually the things that I would usually go to. And they say Sony is really your go-to for video. But I'm a Canon guy. I'm biased, whatever the case is. But the key thing is that I recommend those either of those three brands, either Canon, Panasonic, or Sony, only because Canon is my go-to and you guys see what I produce, but also because of Sony and Panasonic, because they do really well in low light, and all three of them have a good range of different cameras that you can start with, ranging from $600-$700, and they range all the way up to $5,000 to $6,000, depending on what you're trying to get. So you have a very huge range of what you can use for the actual videos. So the next thing that I would suggest is of course, getting a watermark. You can do that either in Photoshop, or you can put that in any kind of, I think, Premiere Pro, or you have Adobe, any kind of picture editing software or video editing software. You can put your watermark on. If you're like me and you want to do like watermark batching, and you want to put them in a whole entire batch, that's my secret. And I ain't telling y'all that part. I'm gatekeeping a little bit. I'm gatekeeping just a little bit. But no, there's programs out there that will help you watermark batch. I know one of them is actually on Apple. It's called Batch Watermark. Now, I don't think they've upgraded it. So if you're on a newer app or a newer Apple, Batch Watermark, I'm not sure if that one is still working as well. But when I use it, it does okay. But I am working on an older Mac too. So it's like, if you want a newer one, I'm not sure, because it kind of flips out on me every now and again. So that's just a plug for that one. I wish they would update it, but check it out. It's a way to actually do batch watermarks, so you can kind of get that content out a little bit quicker out to your patrons who actually took videos and stuff of. Okay. The other part, gimbals. Gimbals. This was a game changer for moi. Okay. Huge game changer. So if you have a phone, I would suggest getting a mobile phone gimbal. Okay. The purpose of a gimbal is to help keep your camera steady and to help keep your camera focused. Okay. Because when you're moving around, when I first started, I actually started off with one of these. And you can only imagine the difficulty of using this while trying to catch skaters during fast backwards or trains and trios, looking around, making sure I'm not going to die. But you can understand just how difficult using this can be. But this is also a way to keep your camera stabilized. The purpose of the stabilization is to make sure that when you're recording, we all have sometimes a little bit of a light shake. So it's to help it keep it more steady, so we can move and have that good quality that we're looking for, and that buttery movement that we're trying to get. Especially when you're skating and going left and right, the gimbal stops all the swaying motion and it kind of stays here. So even as you're moving, the camera stays still. When I say game changer, this is definitely a game changer. Not only can you look where you're going, but you also really get some fire quality, because especially when you start getting to the lenses and the cameras, a gimbal is so important because you have something called autofocus. And I usually use autofocus instead of manual focus when I'm skating. But what happens is just that once people start moving and they get out of focus, the camera has to find them again. or the lens has to find them again. So sometimes you might be skating and it might go out of focus. It might go out of focus like this. Then it has to come back in. You see what I'm saying? So you want to always make sure that right now it's able, when you have a gimbal, it can kind of stay where it needs to stay in order to be focused instead of skating back and forth, always getting out of focus. Now you have inconsistencies in your videos. So, you can get, if you go to Amazon and type in a mobile gimbal, they have tons of them now. They range between, I want to say, maybe 50 to like 150, 200 bucks for a mobile gimbal, depending on how good it is. I want to say if you spend 200 on it, I think you might have spent a little too much. I think you can get away for maybe 90, maybe to $100 for a mobile gimbal. And they do really well with everything that you do. Some of them work with third-party apps. Some of them don't. Some of them work with your regular phone just through Bluetooth or through a cable. But that is a way for you to keep your videos stable and to keep your videos focused in all different aspects. So that is a mobile gimbal. Now, if you're using the camera, it's my baby. This is my baby right here. This is the DJI Ronin RSC2. So this is a big dog, and this is when you're getting a little bit more serious about videography. And this here changed the game for me. There's another gimbal that I actually have in my closet over here. That was the first gimbal that I ever used, but that one I think it worked, but it could work a little bit better. But this thing here is a beast, right? This has different modes where it keeps things stable. You can have all these different effects that it can kind of do. You can have it go slow, go fast. There's a whole bunch of different settings to get the product or to get the visuals that you want to do. Now, the reason why I suggest this one specifically is that most people are trying to do content on social media. So IG, TikTok, and Facebook. So usually when you're doing vertical videos on a gimbal, you have to get something called an L bracket, because how this sits on here, I'm going to sit back a little bit here. So it usually sits on it like so. Now it's not on it directly, but it usually sits on it horizontally. So you sometimes for certain gimbals, you have to get an L bracket so you can use that little screw thing at the bottom to turn it like this to be able to shoot vertically. Now, the beautiful thing about this particular gimbal, the beautiful thing about this gimbal is that it has a portrait mode on it. So you hit this little manual button on here twice on the back, and then it flips horizontally. Now I got horizontal videos and I got vertical videos, however I want to do it. So it's super duper versatile. And this one here though, this one run like 500. This ain't no hoe, okay? This one is like 500, but when I say it does wonders for me in regards to not being able to have to switch back and forth from like using the L bracket for horizontal or vertical videos, depending on what I'm trying to do. It's super convenient for everything that I have going on for all the platforms. And I like it. It's so good that I have two of them. My bad. But yes, definitely get you one of those. I'll throw the link in the description at the bottom. But yes, the Ronin RSC2 is like my go-to for gimbals. It allows me to hit record. I don't got to fiddle around with too many buttons. It already comes charged up. I want to say usually when it's balanced and all that, and I might do a balance on how to balance a gimbal a little bit later on, because that's a pain in the ass too. But once it's balanced, I want to say like the battery on it will last me like a whole session, if not more. Now, it's been only like one time where the gimbal has actually run out of batteries on me. It's been like once, but that was during Job Biscuit, which was like 7 hours long. But it wasn't balanced properly and all that stuff too, so that helps the battery. That makes the battery die down a lot more. But gimbal, that's my go-to. Do you have to use that one? Absolutely not. They have other gimbals that are out there, like the Cranes. The one that I had before was like the Zhiyun something. But if you type in camera gimbal or camera gimbal on like Amazon, you will find a whole array of them. But like my main thing why I like this one so much was that it does have that portrait mode that is actually on there to allow you to go horizontal and vertical while not having to use the L bracket to change back and forth. Super convenient. So you can actually shoot for not Facebook, but YouTube if you want to. You can also shoot for Instagram most of the time, however you want to. Super duper convenient. But those are the gimbals, or you can actually, those are the gimbals. But this is one of the first things that I used. Very similar to the phone one that I had. So I went from this. When I started using my phone, I started using this. So this is a cheaper stabilizer. Not saying that this is ineffective. If you are not skating, this would probably be really good. So you don't have to have it in your hand. You can kind of keep it stable. But when you're skating, you're still doing this, and it kind of helps keep that focused. But with the electronic gimbal, the one that I just showed you earlier, the RSC2, that one does, like, I literally just hold it down like a briefcase like this, look down, and it just kind of stays where I need it to stay until I move it. So the gimbal tutorial is a whole other segment. We'll do that on another day. I might do that live or something like that so y'all can ask questions. But on to the next thing. Post-production. So you got all these videos, you're doing some bomb ass videos. How the hell do you edit them? So you have a lot of different programs out there. You have Final Cut, you have Premiere, you have DaVinci, you have CapCut, you have iMovie. You have all these different things. Personally, for me, I use Final Cut because when you're talking about editing, you need a very strong computer for some of these programs. So something like DaVinci, my Mac could not handle. So if you have one of the basic Macs that's out there, it more than likely it may not handle DaVinci. DaVinci is a very, 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 very powerful editing program. Premiere Pro, to me, I like paying for stuff once. But Premiere has a subscription service that you get into. But of course, you have iMovie, you have VN that's on your phone, you have CapCut that's on your phone. I believe you also have iMovie on the phone now. So there's a lot of different ways that you can edit post-production, which is also called post-production, that you can actually have to edit your programs. Personally, I use Final Cut. Once again, I paid for it once. My Mac runs pretty smooth on it. It's not really choppy. Another thing that you can use, another program that I use, is called Filmora. Filmora 9. They are subscription based now, but I bought it when it was like a one-time subscription. But they do have a subscription service, but they are pretty good, especially if you're into the social media content. So they have a lot of different stickers and effects and emojis that are already built in to the program and platform already. Whereas with Final Cut, I had to get a third party. I use Motion Array, where I get a lot of my graphics, a lot of the titles, a lot of different things that make up the video, like sounds and things along that nature. I have to go to a third party to pick those up to use for iMovie, not iMovie, but for Final Cut. But Filmora has a lot of those things already built in. It's a really good platform to use, especially if you're learning early. And it's a lot of drag and drop that you can do. Whereas stuff in like Final Cut, Premiere, and DaVinci, you have to do a lot of things more manually, I guess you can say. So like if you want an effect to do something, you have to like manually do it. Well, Filmora kind of does it for you. So that's something to think about in your post editing program once you get to that part of your life. Okay. The other aspect now, we got a couple more things before we head out, is that your lens. Okay. So we're talking about now you have a camera, right? So this camera, as you know, it actually detaches. So you have the lens, the camera, and then you also have the lens. Now, if you have bought a camera, more than likely you have a kit lens on it. And I think the lens I just showed you is actually a kit lens. Usually, I want to say it's like 18 to 55. It has probably an f-stop of like 4.5 or 3.5. Now, I'm not going to dig too deep, but an f-stop, or when I say aperture, think about an eye. So the lower the aperture, the more open the eye is. So therefore, the more light that comes in. Now, the higher the aperture, the more closed that the eye is. So therefore, less light comes in. Usually, kit lenses come with a very medium aperture, but they come with a very telescope kind of lens, or a zoom lens, what they call it. usually these lenses can get the job done. They need additional work. They need additional help, especially in a rink when you're not in when you're in an outside setting where you don't have a lot of natural light. It can get the job done, but sometimes the video does not come out crispy. Also, the lens, especially in darker situations, may not be able to get the light that you need, and now you have to kick up the artificial light or the ISO. And this is why I was telling you where the Panasonic and the Sony are more important in these kind of situations, because the more artificial light or the more ISO that you put on it or increase it, the more grainy that the video can look. So therefore, it can kind of not give you that crystal clear quality that you're looking for, right? So what I would suggest for a kit lens. So when you're talking about a lens, I normally suggest, some people like prime lenses, okay? And prime lenses are lenses that don't zoom. So it's only at one setting the whole entire time. Personally, I like zoom lenses that go in and out because it gives me more versatility. So, it's the difference between being in your regular session versus being in a RITC or a Jive Biscuit or an IR, where there's a lot of people all over the place. So you need to be able to see more, so you need to zoom out more. So that's why I don't really like prime lenses, because it kind of keeps you stuck. So you have prime lenses and you have zoom lenses, and then you want to get a lens that has a pretty decent f-stop or aperture. I normally recommend don't get anything more than a 2.8. So you have these. I wish I can kind of show y'all. I wonder will it let me would it show it without kind of zooming in? Okay, maybe it will. Maybe can y'all? All right. Kind of sorta. But you can't see it. Sorry. So there's there's like numbers on there. So usually when you see you will hear some photographers or videographers talking about like, I have a 18-35 5.8 or a 1.8, or I have a 75 millimeter to 100 millimeter, that's 4.5. So what that means, if I say that I have an 18-35, that means I can see between 18 and it zooms out to 35 millimeters, right? So it's a zoom lens. If I say I have a 35 millimeter, that means that it's a prime lens. That means I can only see as far as it goes back to 35 millimeters. If I say I have an f-stop of 1.8 or I have an f-stop of 4.5, that is saying how open the lens can get to allow more light. So if I have a 1.8 18-35 millimeter lens, that means I can see anything between 18 to 35 millimeters, and I can let a lot of light in at a 1.4. So does that make sense? So once again, the range 18 to 35 means I can see from between this distance and that distance. The f-stop is saying that I can see from this open, I can let this much light in, or I can let this much light in, right? So my go-to lens, I love this lens, and this lens has taken my videography to a new level when it comes to skating. I use an 18 to 35 1.4 lens. I think it's 1.4. If it's not 1.4, it's like 1.8. Sigma lens. Now, the lens is where they get you at. Now, you have cameras out here that are like, $5, $6, $7 depending on what kind of lens, what kind of camera you got. But there's glass out there that's like 13 bands, bro. 13. So the lens that I got ran me like almost $800. So yeah, with these cameras and these lenses, that's why I'm not quick to put it down to let y'all watch them for me, because this shit gets expensive. Like the camera's $1,500, the gimbal's $5, the lens is $8. So, do the math, right? This shit's expensive. So, but the lens, but it's completely worth it. But when you buy a lens, once again, determine on what you're trying to shoot. You may not need that depending on what you're trying to shoot. This is when it comes important to what other equipment you may need to help compensate for the lens and stuff that you have, depending on how you're trying to shoot, right? So You may not need all that. You might just go do a GoPro. GoPro's perfectly fine. For me, I didn't care for GoPro because it has that wide angle look. Just wasn't my thing. I'm good on that. So that's why I went to the phone and I went to the camera. But that's just me. Everybody has a different style. Everybody like things a little bit different. I know 4K TV out of Savannah. He uses a GoPro. He loves it. You know, whatever floats your boat, sell that bad boy. But for me, when it regards to money and costs, really truly understand what you are trying to do. Okay. The next thing is lighting. I know y'all hate this. I know y'all hate it, but we're going to hopefully after this conversation, you'll be able to use it properly. Okay. Check me out. All right. So this is not the light that I use. This is the light that I used before. Okay. This is just a regular LED light. And the key thing about lighting is that, a lot of people complain about the light, especially from a videographer standpoint, but they never really discuss on how to not use the light. Now, how not to use the light was our previous section that we just talked about, was your lens and your camera. Now, if you don't have a good lens, then you might eventually need this, especially if you're using the kit lens, especially during the slow set when it's dark in there. But the lights are really important when you use them well, right? You want to make sure that you use the light depending on what your subject is, what their subject looks like, okay? If you ever see me, you'll probably see me adjusting my knobs every time I'm actually looking at different skaters. Usually, if you're, like, let's say, for example, if I'm shooting a light-skinned or a lighter complexion skater, I am not going to have a really bright LED white light on them. I'm going to, or we'll say cooler colors. So I will actually put my colors to more warmer that reflects off their tone a little bit better. So that's why some of these videos that I see, they all look like this big, huge spotlight that's on the actual subject, because it's not reflecting off their skin well. You're not using it properly. It's not angled properly. And sometimes it's way too bright when there's enough light in there and you don't even really need it. So, and that's one thing that I had to learn too, but I also had to get a better lens. So this is more for the cell phone user for the most part. Now, I do have a light. It's actually over there. It's a battery powered light. This is battery powered too, but that particular light is a RGB kind of. It's an RGB light, and RGB means it goes to all the different color schemes. So it goes through purple, it goes red, it flashes, it does blue, it does like these club lights where it circles through red, green, and white, and all this other stuff like that. That particular light is what I recommend, and I will put that in the chat. I will go get it, but I don't want y'all see my thickness. You know what I'm saying? But now I'll put that in the comment section. But I suggest getting that particular light because it lasts forever. I want to say, like, with it being on, it will last like 16 hours with it being on. So you will never run out of the battery as long as you're charging it. It goes through so many different cycles of light that you can actually use. So you can use it as a background light. You can use it as a subject light. You can put it anywhere. And then it also has like a mixture where you can do like a little bit of a light warm combination. So you don't just have to have a cool light and a warm light. Usually what these lights usually do, you can kind of mix it where it's kind of like a little bit of a cool warm. So it's like a corn. That's lame. Don't worry about it. It's a cool, warm light. So it's a little bit of a mixture of both. So you can kind of understand and see what the subjects and stuff kind of look like. As I said, if you're doing more of a darker complexion, you want to have it more of a cooler tone. If you have somebody that's more of a lighter tone, you might want to have warmer colors based on how that light is reflecting. So hopefully that helps out some people in regards to the lighting situation, because it makes you look magnificent. And I wish this thing here had a button so I can really show you what the lighting difference actually looks like when you actually turn off a light or turn on a light. So actually, we family, right? We family. Look, watch this right quick. Watch this. Hold on. Okay. So usually if you don't have a light on, now I just have one big light that's occurring right here in front of me. So you can kind of still see me. You can see the lights that's in the background. So if these were like skate lights, you can see me. You can have a little bit of change here. You can kind of see my shadows, so on and so forth. So in a camera scan, even if I sit back, I'm going to extend the mic out a little bit, you can still see me. But usually if the rink was dark, this is what you would see in a rink. Now, when it comes to videos, this looks absolutely horrible. I can't do anything with this, right? So it's like, okay, what do I have to do? And now I have to turn a light on. So give me 1 second so I can turn the light back on. So now this is one light that's pointing directly at me, and we're back well lit to how we were before. So this is why lighting is important when you're talking about videography. Now, is it needed throughout the whole entire session when the lights are on? Probably not, especially if you have a cell phone. But if you have a camera, you can imagine not having that lens that gives you enough light, and now you have now you're not getting enough light. Now you have to turn the ISO up. Now it's super grainy. Like I said, we're getting super duper technical in this one, but as you can see, it just doesn't do what it needs to do when the light is not on. So that's why lighting is super duper important in the skate room, because we usually are in a very, very, very dark setting most of the time, right? Last but not least, the screens. So this is my go-to FreeWorld, my little monitor that I use. This helps me a lot because a lot of the camera screens that are out there, I like the Canon specifically because it's very, it turns in different directions. So I can have it any way that I need to have it. But some camera screens on the back, they do not flip out. So like this one specifically does not flip out. So when I was recording, I had to kind of look like this as I was doing things. And as you can see how much of a pain in the ass that could really be. So usually getting a screen or a HD screen, this one shoots up to 4K. I want to say I spent like $150 on this one. But this helps out tremendously, especially when you are skating. So say for instance, I'm shooting JB. I literally get in front of them. I have this on the side of my gimbal. And as I have my gimbal steady, I'm literally looking forward, skating forward, but looking down at the screen to make sure that they're still in frame. So I don't have to like skate backwards and worry about tripping over somebody and falling and breaking my camera, so on and so forth. So it just kind of helps out in so many different arenas by having a screen. Now you will need some cables like an HDMI cable to connect to the actual gimbal and your camera and so on and so forth, but that's just all part of the game. And last but not least, I would say get Canva. Canva is probably the best $12.99 that I spend a year. A lot of the brand recognition that you see on the page now comes from Canva. So the questions of the day, that whole background and stuff, Canva. Questions, like the thumbnails that I make, Canva. Best $12.99 that I spend, and the Canva has so many different tools on there that you can use in order to get what you need to get to build your brand on social media. Man, it's absolutely awesome. Check out Canva. So before we head out, a couple pro tips. Make sure as you start a skate page, if you're going to be going to these different skate parties, pro tip number one is to reach out to the coordinator. Reach out to the coordinator. I made the mistake of when I first started just kind of going into a skate party. They didn't stop me, but I realized later on it's like, it's kind of disrespectful to walk into somebody's house and just start shooting stuff. So I always reach out to the coordinators to make sure that it's okay for me to shoot. It just shows a level of respect, and they also get to know you and understand what you're trying to do. So maybe next time you can get invited, get your media pass, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. But even not reaching out to them, you never know what they may need at that time. They may be able to get you a media pass that particular time that you go. And you can actually show your skill set. So make sure when you go there, you show out. Number two, don't shoot in 4K unless you're going to shoot shooting for YouTube. So if you're using Instagram, TikTok, if you shoot in 4K, it condenses it to HD. So you can shoot in 4K as much as you like. The quality that's going to pop up on your page is just 1080p. So 4K is a big waste of time. and you're also using a lot of space. A lot of space. One more time, a lot of space. So use 1080p, shoot in 1080p. The only reason why I would say shoot in 4K is if you're going to be shooting horizontal for something and you want to multi-purpose that particular content for something that's vertical. So usually if you zoom in, it goes from 4K to 1080p. If you shot in 1080p, it would go to 720. So therefore, if usually when you're going horizontal from a landscape to a portrait mode, you're zooming in essentially. So that's the only way I would say shoot 4K is if you plan on repurposing the content for YouTube and other social media platforms. But other than that, shoot 1080p, you're wasting memory and you're wasting space on your phone. The other thing is that make sure that you understand your techniques of videography before you choose and go buy a camera. Do not go spend thousands of dollars on a camera for you not to know what the hell to do with it. I know for myself that, like I said, I started with my phone. I so happen to have a camera because I did photography and shit before, but I had a camera already. So just make sure that you understand the techniques, and you can go to YouTube University. There's so many different videographers on Instagram that you can go check out. And check this, make sure you understand the concepts of videography before you go buy that camera, man. I would hate for you to go buy that camera and you still take boo-boo videos, right? So make sure you understand the concepts. So this was a really lengthy podcast. This was a really lengthy one. And we know we had a couple boo-boos where the damn guy unplugged the camera, y'all. It's wild. But we here. This is what we do at Skate Addict TV, man. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it gave you some insight on how to start and on how some equipment to actually look into. It's a lot. It's a lot. And if we need to do like a live or something like that where we can do some on the air kind of questions, we can do that. Because you know what, this is what we do here. This is my show and this is how we rock. So I'm here to help and build the community as much as I possibly can. But make sure you go follow us on all social media platforms. Make sure you give us those 5 stars. Make sure you subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. Give us a comment on all your podcast listening needs. But once again, go check us out on all your social media platforms and make sure you follow Skate Addict TV. We ride, we vibe, and we party. Aha! All right, so now we here. You don't see anything. You can't even really see the background. Actually, y'all, I just cut off the camera too. That is wild. Can't believe I just did that. But the tape was still rolling. We don't care, man. This is my show, man. We do bloopers around here. But I was like, why the hell can't I see myself on this camera? That shit is wild. What happened? Give me a second. We about to do this because I'm determined now. I am determined.